you kind of touched on this, but I'm just interested in kind of exploring
Hmm,
a little bit more how
sure.
this training might be different than other trainings you've taken in the past. What really stood out to you? What would you say was one of your biggest takeaways from the experience?
Oh, okay. I've got many. I'll try to break it down. Overall, the takeaway for me, and I would say this is the biggest takeaway for me was that it felt to be a very relationship oriented process. For counselors or mental health professionals, that feels important. Perspective matters. And when people sit in an office with a mental health professional, they just feel or bring a different perspective than if they're going to sit down with a legal professional.
Mm.
And so, what I appreciated so much about the CoPS program is it felt relational, which is important to me as a mental health professional. It felt relatable. It also felt reliable. So it wasn't just like we think this might work. I could tell you teased it out over years of experience, and you even mentioned it, and I appreciate it. You told us some of your stories, and you figured out what works and what doesn't work. Some of the specific takeaways, I know this was huge for me, and it seemed important to everybody else in our cohort, were your sayings.
Yeah.
You have these small sayings, Christina, that became so popular in our cohort. You had a way of condensing what felt like, I mean, this much information. And in a single sentence or two, you brought it down and you focused it in. And I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to. I'm going to write down these sayings because it helps people connect to these bigger mm, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of these bigger ideas or concepts, but that small saying helps encapsulate it so they can walk away and almost make it a mantra.
Mhm.
They can repeat very easily and very simply to themselves what works and what doesn't work. Because as you mentioned at the very beginning of our conversation today, was we don't always come in with a headspace to be able to think our way through this stuff. So being able to bring this down into digestible component pieces and those sayings that you had, I'll leave. You have to attend the training to hear Christina say it because they're wonderful. You do this, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. And so you did it in such a way that just made sense to everybody. I watched the grid of video faces when you said one of those. Everybody was nodding in agreement.
Mm.
It just makes sense. And so all of those sayings, I know it may sound a bit cryptic at this point, but it helped me understand that it's not always the big picture stuff. It's bringing it down to these simpler ideas that help us think about what's good for a kiddo. So that was a big one.